The Joyful Friar podcast is made possible by the generous support of our friends. To support the podcast, please visit nathan-castle.com and donate today. Hello and welcome to this episode of the Joyful Friar podcast. I'm Father Nathan Castle, your host. Last week, we introduced a new trilogy. The story's not new. In fact, to me, it goes all the way back to the first of the three Afterlife Interrupted books that was it printed in 2018. So now going on 8 years ago. But there's a story there that we haven't told on the podcast that kind of captured my attention. I was in prayer last week thinking about stories to use, and something came up on the TV about the Winter Olympics being only a month away. And I thought, that's it, because there was a story of a healthy young 24-year-old woman named Cheryl Lynn who brought a dream story about 10 years ago now. And sadly for her, her life changed quite dramatically because of an automobile accident. She was a passenger in a car, and it flipped, and the consequence to her was she was paralyzed from the waist down. She explained that she had been very active. She was still at 24, not sure what she was going to do in terms of career. She was studying communications and loved doing that. She loved being around people. She said she was very active, and one of the things that she was doing in college was teaching water aerobics. So she was a person very attuned with her body and had her own aspirations about, if not Olympic competition, at least being a very athletic woman. She was kind of testy. If we get people who are all vetted, the people who come to me in dreams and whose stories my prayer partners and I enter into, they're not random. They've been in some sort of healing modality after a traumatic death. Uh, they're they've moved through some sort of process that has helped them maybe achieve some calm or something that makes them ready to move from an afterlife level that seems more about accommodating people's emergency needs and then on to something less so, something with greater freedom in it. She came to us, and you can listen to all this on the previous podcast, but she came just barely at the level that enabled her to be with me. That is, she was still kind of testy, and she wanted to make sure I understood that she wasn't a religious person, and now she's talking to a priest, uh, and just edgy. So the part of the story I hadn't related here is that at 24, after her paralyzing accident, she went through lots and lots of physical therapy. She was a little annoyed at how chirpy and positive the therapist could be. Maybe some of my guests today can respond to that. Um, uh, and she said, that it's not that I didn't see that we were making progress, because I could tell I was getting better, but I never was able to walk again, which was what she would have wanted more than anything. Nevertheless, she got to where we met her, and she was going to make a movement from this level to the next. A lovely thing happened. Once she understood that one of her options would be to take anybody who had died that loved her and invite them to come for her, to kind of escort her from where she is to where she would be next. And we reminded her, my prayer partner reminded her that they have to have died. And she said, "Yeah, I got that part." Oh, okay. All right. Uh, Very well then. Do you have somebody in mind? And she says, if I've got this right, the criteria is they need to move me from place to place. Now, there was one person who did nothing in my life but try to help me move, and that was Estelle. Well, who's Estelle? Well, Estelle was this physical therapist who, unlike every other physical therapist, wasn't annoying. And she didn't have a clipboard and boring lessons to do. She said, Estelle, when she led a session, she would have us all close our eyes and imagine our bodies being completely whole and free to move as we wanted them to. And then she would put us through, she used the word swan as a verb. She swanned into the room and she swirled about and she made it all feel like art. And the sessions with her passed so quickly. She said, if I need somebody to help me move, it would be Estelle. Well, tell us a little bit more about Estelle. Well, she showed up at one of the sessions and right out of the gate explained to us that she had to deliver some medical news of her own. She had gotten a very dire cancer diagnosis, a stage 4 cancer, and she said when she learned of it, it was already unsurvivable. All right. So she leveled with the people that were her clients in this physical therapy and said, I will always tell you the truth. I will keep you updated from session to session about the state of my health, and I'll be with you as long as I can. And she said, we all admired her because she was doing right in front of us what she was urging us to do. Take what your body can do and emphasize the positive. You know, figure out what you can do, and is there a little bit more than that? Can you push your body to become a little more capable than it already is? And we watched her do that with her advancing illness until the point where she couldn't come and be with us, and then she died. So if there's anybody that would be the perfect one for this, it would be Estelle. So we explained, well, we can't summon, we don't order about people in the afterlife, but we can invite and ask. And so we went into a very brief prayer. You remember, Sherilyn wasn't a religious person, so it's not necessary to make elegant uh, prayers that go on and on. It's enough to just say, God, we'd like Estelle if she's available, please. And that's all it took. And Estelle made an entrance because apparently that was something she was known for. And that made Sherilyn laugh. And the two of them moved Sherilyn under her own power into the next phase. We always go back into these stories if we want to use them publicly in a book or a podcast and ask permission. So we did go back and ask permission. And Sherilyn explained to us, she said, you know, I don't have to have a career because I don't have to have a salary to pay bills. And I haven't chosen what I want to do or be yet. All I want to do is move. And so she felt like she was 24 going on 10. She said, I'm like a little girl that's just on the lawn doing cartwheels because she can. And nobody's shouting at me and saying, get in here and do these dishes or anything like that. Stop that nonsense. She said, it's so nice here. Nobody's judging anybody else, and everybody's happy because they're doing what they want to do. And we're all free to do as we like. And that's what I'm doing now. I'm just moving because I can move. So that gets you up to speed on last week's podcast and into the meat of this one. I was thinking about how to form a compassionate response to, well, did I mention that she, at 36, the dial-a-ride came for her and the driver dropped her on her head and killed her? That's kind of burying the lead, isn't it? To even tell you such a basic thing. And she said, I don't know what happened. I don't know if there was a human error, a mechanical error, and who cares anyway, but I was dropped on my head and I died on the spot. And when she learned that there was an afterlife, she was pissed. She just said, I don't want any more life. I'm tired of living. And when she learned there was an afterlife, and that she needed to follow the direction of good advisors, it rankled her because it reminded her too much of all the physical therapy and stuff. But they had to kind of calm her down and say, you don't have to live with a whole lot of infirmity. You just we need to just get you up and going again. And when she came our direction, she said, "Oh God, not more afterlife in therapy." And my partner just said, It's really very simple. Our part isn't arduous at all. All we're going to do is help you move along." So, all right, that's with that said, I'd like each of my guests to introduce yourself because I do it poorly and you could do it well. So I'm looking at Sami Madden on the Zoom call. Sami, you happen to be the big face, the big picture in the middle. So why don't you go first?
Yeah, I'm Sami Madden. I'm happy to be able to come back on this podcast. I was on here initially, and we were talking about disabilities with our friend Minda Cox, who painted the after the Antoto 2 picture. No, I'm sorry, the Joyful Friar picture for Father Nathan. So it's great to be back, and I'm happy to bring my friends Jessica Cox and Louis Fazio to this podcast.
So, Jessica, sound off. Tell us a little bit about you.
My name is Jessica Cox, and I am basically, I was born without both my arms. I've lived this way my entire life, and it's been, this is my normal. I know it sounds unusual to be born without both arms, but for no medical reason as to why this happened, it has been a blessing in disguise in a way that has allowed me to reach people and do some incredible things, not to mention become the world's first and only armless pilot who flies a plane with her feet and certified to do so by the Federal Aviation Administration. I'm currently building an airplane called the Impossible Airplane with a team of volunteers, and we will have, for the very first time in history, a plane that is designed to be flown with feet alone in the pilot and command seat. So for me, it has been challenging in some ways, being born without arms. It also has really stretched the imagination and creativity of one, and what is someone capable of achieving. And it really has been such a wonderful platform to show the world not only that disability doesn't mean inability, but that everyone with God's guidance can really come to add so much to the world and is blessed in many ways, despite some of the adversity. The adversity itself can be a blessing in disguise. So I just wanted to share a little bit, a little bit about my aviation contributions. I am a motivational speaker by profession. I've spoken in 28 countries around the world, including one virtually in Pakistan. But so it's 29 countries, one being virtual. But for me, it has been such a wonderful blessing and gift to the world to use the life that I was given and blessed with to be light to those around the world, and not only with disabilities, but all those who feel challenged with their own form of adversity, whether it's apparent, visual, basically something that people can obviously see, versus something that could be an invisible disability, which everyone has something.
And today you are in a car that also accommodates you can operate it just with your feet, apparently. You're
Yeah, so yes, correct. I'm driving a non-modified car. This vehicle has basically like any other vehicle. Um, it's not stick shift, I will say that. So
okay.
I have my feet on the wheel and I'm sitting here in the driver's seat because I was asked to give my dad a ride to the doctor's office. And so I'm here at the doctor's office in the parking lot, and I keep my right foot on the steering wheel and my left foot alternating between the gas and brake, similar to many who drive with their right foot alternating between the gas and brake. But because my right foot is my dominant foot, I keep that on the wheel, and I've been driving this way for over 20 years
Okay.
with an unrestricted driver's license in a standard vehicle.
Okay. And you might have to leave us early because your dad's appointment might come. And anyway, we're going to have you speak a little bit more at the front end just in case you can't be with us for the full time.
Yes, yes, thank you for that. And happy to share and be on as long as I possibly can with
Okay.
this wonderful group of people here today.
All right. Thank you. Lewis, you're up.
Thank you. My name's Louis Fazio, and I'm a third order Dominican. Um, so I'm part of the Dominican family, and I appreciate that. I am a licensed social worker with my license in social work. I gained my social work degree in 2024. I have my associate licensure, and I just received an offer to become a therapist at Metamorphosis Counseling. So I'll be starting that on the 26th of January. And I'm also an author with my dear friend and brother, Matthias Mahoney, who is hopefully, God willing, going to be a first order Dominican. And our book is slated to come out. It's called Privilege Interrupted. And it's by myself and Matthias J. Mahoney, um, published by Brand Publishing. And we are supposed to be with the book festival coming up in March.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah, so we're excited about that. And I moved to the east side of Tucson. So, yay.
Okay. All right. To frame this time together, the second part of the trilogy is me or my guests and I talking about this story and this person's experience through the lens of what we call compassionate response. Um, Compassion has to deal with suffering and because the people that I deal with have all died in sudden violent ways, they at least have that suffering to endure, maybe other things as well. So we look in this episode to try to delve into how can we become more compassionate people towards someone whose story might have touched our heart. And so when I sat down to think about this, I thought, why in the world wouldn't I go to somebody who knows more about it than I do? And then I'm sure you have your own compassionate response to other people because you have different kinds of disabilities. Um, I'm wondering, for example, Jessica, has your disability involved a whole lot of medical interventions of different kinds or no?
It has not, other than introduction to prosthetics.
Uh-huh.
So while I had the option of them for 11 years, it was not something I chose to pursue.
Uh-huh.
So it has, I mean, I would say yes, kind of in a way when it comes to the prosthetic world, but other than other medical interventions, no.
Sammy, I've known for a number of years, and there was a period of, it seemed like almost 2 years, Sammy, where you were going to one doctor after another, and it's not bad enough that you had the disability that you had, but then all kind of complications deriving from it. And then, Louis, you've had your fair share of that too. You've been in more than one doctor's office. Um, I'm wondering how your own circumstance moves you towards compassion for other people.
I think it gives me, well, I'll say it. I'll tell you what a person at the VA told me where I volunteer. A recreational therapist told me at the VA that I could go into spaces that many people could not. And I had to think about that for a moment because I was like, what does she mean? So I prayed about that and I reflected also. And so, and I do a lot of volunteer work on the hospice unit. And so a couple of weeks back, um, a person said to me on the hospice unit, they wanted to die. And it kind of shook me back or it took me back a moment because I was like, why would you? I mean, you're dying, so what's the rush? Because you know that you're dying, but I didn't say anything, and I just listened to the person. So I think that my disability and my experience gives me the in that framework gives me the ability to just shut up and listen.
Sammy, why don't you sound off a little bit?
Yeah, I definitely in 2023 had surgeries and then complications and all of that, but in my life I've had 20 plus surgeries and challenges with each one of those. And I think the thing that the insight I have is I know what it means to have pain and the struggles with that, but also the having to rely on others for help and in some ways being able to share understanding with the woman who had we were talking about the story about in the frustrations of having to rely on others for help because at times it's like I'm very much independent, but then when there's surgeries or and things involved, it just brings back the, oh, okay, I need help with this, I need help with that. And so it definitely has the frustrations. And so I have some understanding of what people go through in that. And one of the things I do as part of trying to talk about my surgeries and frustration is that I teach at the university in a class, 1 day class. One of the things I do with the students at the university in this disability class is in the first few minutes, I give them a task where they have to be able to open a soda can, but they can't use their fingers. And it's trying to get them to think about, some point they may run into someone who can't use their fingers. What does it mean for them to be able to do this one task? Or having them think about in life, something might happen to them. What does that mean? Or a relative, what does that mean? And trying to put them in someone else's shoes of, what does this mean to deal with this one, in this case, opening a soda can, but what does it mean to dealing with the task that you want in your life?
I have this question, and now, Sammy, I know you, and viewers don't. Your extremities, your arms end at the elbow, and your
Yes.
legs end at the knee, or is it just below the knee?
Yeah, just above the ankle is where my
Oh,
legs stop. Yes.
okay. And that's from birth, also, right?
Yes. Yes.
Would you think that in your experience of being around other disabled people, do you see much difference between people who've had to deal with their disability their whole life as opposed to those like Cheryl Lynn who have to become disabled instantly? Or maybe Louis works with the VA, perhaps because of a wartime injury. Do you see a difference between those populations?
I do. I think, Jessica and I've run across this in our amputee group. I think that the being born with it, you've had more time to kind of figure out how things are going to work, and you already have the mindset of adapting and figuring out what does that mean for you versus later in life losing it. There is this frustration, resentment. It's the I wish I had, my hand back or fingers, whatever the instance could be. I wish I had that back. How do I deal with this now? And so there is that frustration figuring that out. So I think there is a difference.
When you're born a certain way and this is all you've ever known, it's very hard to compare to what you could have, as opposed to if you have lived life a certain way with certain assets, whether it's your hands, arms, ability to walk, and then you lose it all of a sudden, you're having to grieve the loss of whatever that is that you have lost, and you have to
Mhm.
learn a new normal.
Uh-huh.
And that will never be the same as what was in the past.
Yeah.
And I
Mhm.
cannot only imagine the grieving process of having to grieve uh, loss of functionality, whatever that is for
Yeah.
someone. For me, I don't think any differently about my not having arms, but I do feel like I have some insight to what it means to be different and what it means to feel alone in that sense and have compassion for those who feel isolated or feel like they don't have anyone who understands them.
Mhm.
And that kind of compassion comes with a lifetime of always being different
Mhm.
and always being stared at or looked at or questioned or stigmatized or assumed that you can't do it. And you obviously learn how to give people the benefit of the doubt and at the same time be a voice of yes I can and speak up for yourself, advocate for your needs, and at the same time have the compassion to do that for those who may not have a voice yet. So for the children who are still learning to for me, for example, I have a nonprofit that helps children without arms, and they are powerless at times because people around them are constantly telling them, "Oh, you can't do it. Oh, you can't get a high school job. Oh, you can't drive a car. You can't join driver's ed class. Yeah, you're not going to be able to go to that school trip because you can't take care of your own needs. You won't be able to go to college or accomplish anything or have a family, get married, have a job, live a life that you want to live just out of mere assumption that exists." So I want to teach those children how to have a voice and to not only uh, fight back and speak up for themselves, but at the same time really recognize that they have a place for themselves and that they are, like in the eyes of our Creator, they are here with purpose. They have something to contribute to the world, and that they can have a happy life. So that's something on the emotional side of things that I like to really advocate for, is the importance of understanding that and bringing that worthiness to those who are born without arms. My specific passion for those children born without arms and without limbs.
You mentioned that you've spoken as a motivational speaker in all these different countries. Is that your primary message? And who hires you? And what kind of groups do you speak?
My livelihood has been definitely the corporate world, but clearly the message needs to be beyond the corporate world, because I go to countries where children without arms are hidden at home. Children without arms are not allowed to go to school. Children with disabilities are cast aside from society, left to beg on the streets, and that's essentially what their life would be. And so I see the stigma, and I recognize that if someone comes in to say, "Hey, if she can fly a plane, if she can be happily married, if she can contribute to society and have be a homeowner, do all these things, why are we holding back our children with disabilities, our adults with disabilities?" And it makes the message all the more meaningful once I cross outside the United States, the borders of the United States, to countries where the stigma is very real and very unfortunate for those with disabilities.
And do you speak other languages than English, or are you being translated?
It's mostly being translated, but
Yeah.
I think that's what's wonderful about uh, our ability to be a testimony, is that our physical bodies, you don't have to use language to convey the message of hope, by showing that someone without arms can pick up a pen and sign her name in a book
Uh-huh.
with her toes. And so that's testimony that goes beyond translation. And I think it's so beautiful that it can be such a testament to what
Yeah,
everyone is capable of achieving.
Okay.
yeah, I'll add to Jess's thing about the going third world countries, going to countries is that I was born in India, and had I not been given up for adoption, I would have spent my life pretty much begging on the streets, and because of my medical stuff, it would have been unlikely that I would have made it to age 8. I would not have been educated, and so that's how really disabilities are seen. And definitely in 2015 when I went back, there was still a stigma to people with disabilities, and there were challenges with that as I was traveling around India. So it is still an ongoing issue and conversations that have to be had.
From my perspective, this is why Matthias and I wrote the book. And hopefully, I really hope the book is used way beyond my life. I'm 62 now and beating the actuary tables. But I was institutionalized at the age of 6, and that was very common when I was younger, when, people of my generation were younger. And so just the idea of being in America, and it's a great country, of course, but as far as disabilities were concerned, it wasn't so great. And the church, the Catholic Church, my mother made sure that I was confirmed and had all the first communion, first confession, had all the sacraments. And even today, with the National Partnership on Disability, just went to one of their conferences last year. There's still many children with disabilities that don't have all the sacraments and that are not fully participating in our church. And that's one thing that I hope through God and the Holy Spirit changes, because everyone deserves God. And we are not children of a lesser God. We are children of the same God. And I think that's really a good thing for your podcast, Father Nathan, is to have this type of segment to let people know that people with disabilities, yes, we do great things, but basic and foremost, we are all children of the same God.
Yeah. I have to say that, when I'm saying Mass at the Newman Center at University of Arizona, where I live, uh, people that aren't familiar with our Mass, our service, there's a moment about three-quarters of the way through it where we pray the Lord's Prayer, and then my line is to say, uh, let's now exchange with one another some sign of Christ's peace. And you're often on one side of the chapel, and there's a young, disabled young woman on the other side, and you almost always drive yourself over there and exchange the peace with her. Can you speak to that a little bit?
Sure. Um, I felt, and I didn't know them until started doing that, um, but I felt that the person that we're speaking of needed to know that even though this person could not speak, that we knew that she was part of the mass with us. And so I felt called, and so did Matthias, because he started doing this also with me, by the Blessed Mother, to go over and to extend the sign of peace, so that this person knew that they were very important in the mass, and that the person, really added to the mass, and they weren't alone.
Thank you. Um, do any of you, in any order, do you have any tips or advice, even from a point of what not to do or say, or for those of us that would like to be whatever you would like us to be with regard to you? Is there anything that you find irksome, or wish that, or a message that you might deliver here that might help us to be uh, just uh, better at interacting with you?
I love that question. I'm going to jump on that because that people need to not make the assumption. And I want to use an example because Louis said a beautiful example just now about making an effort to make people feel included. And in our Catholic family, um, one of the things I did this past Sunday was something I've never done. I'm a cradle Catholic. It's been a profound part of my life. It's the foundation of my life, and my faith is everything. And I, as someone who's gone to mass every single Sunday for my entire life, I can't even remember missing one. Going through all the sacraments, fortunately, as I was guided through, and hoping that many more with disabilities can do the same. But I was asked to do something, and initially, I think the immediate reaction would be, well, naturally, she's not able to do it. And that was to bring the gifts forward before the Eucharist was to happen. And there's, the goblet that has the water. I don't know if that's the proper term. I apologize. But, and then the wine, and then the pieces of bread that will be the Eucharist. And I was accidentally assigned it from my women's church group at my church. And I think everyone made the just thought, oh, she must have accidentally been assigned the person to bring the gifts forward, because everyone was going to jump in at the opportunity. And it occurred to me, and I felt like this was God talking to me in this moment. I realized that He, an advocate for all, said to in His words, well, why can't you carry the gifts forward? Why have you stepped back from this opportunity? And I thought to myself, well, why don't I do it? I carry things under my chin and neck, and I'm talking about wine glasses, glasses that will break, things that could shatter. And why not carry the water goblet or whatever the container is called forward? And I stepped up because I heard his words, and I said, oh, you know what? No worries. I can do this. I'm going to figure out this out. And with God, all things are possible. And I asked the woman for my church group, for the women's church group, I said, would you assist me by putting this up just below my chin and neck, or around my neck and between my chin and shoulder? I can carry this all the way to the front of the church. And she did. And initially it was sliding a little bit because it was on my shirt. And I said, I just need to make sure you put it up a little higher. And she did.
And together we brought the gifts forward. And
Uh-huh.
for me, that was a huge celebration, the smallest things, which people with disabilities can share a ton, so much about, is that these small things bring such joy. But it was this belief that we can contribute, and it should never be assumed what we can or cannot do,
Yes.
but to ask the question instead of make the assumption.
Yes.
One thing, as Father Nathan knows about me, is since I'm now a third order Dominican, I'm learning to proclaim a little more and without being too nervous. So I got the opportunity to lecture uh, occasionally at daily mass, and Matthias helped me with that as well. And that for me was a great thing because I did it for Jesus.
Claiming scriptures at the beginning of near the beginning of the service.
Yes, but
Are you nervous about it?
yes,
I was terrified when I had no physical reason to be terrified, but I just was. I just had kind of stage fright about being in front of people at all. And when I first was in seminary and I had to read, I just thought everybody was looking for me to screw it up. I don't know why I was that way. I was thinking of, I used to work at another campus ministry center, and there was a young woman who was blind, I think blind from birth, and she had a service dog, and she became a lector. She just brought in her Braille copy of the scriptures. And I just remember whenever I would be presiding at a mass where she proclaimed one of the readings, the quality of attention all through the room was extraordinary. Because you can be at a mass and be paying half attention to what's going on while you're thinking about a snack or what you're going to do after mass or any of the number of nonsensical things in your head. But when she got up to proclaim, nobody was doing that. Everybody was riveted on every word that came out of her mouth.
yes. I am grateful that I have the opportunity and that my brother Matthias also helped and me achieve that as well. And so that was the point I was going to bring forward. You know, Matthias and I are kind of an odd pair in the sense that if you invert our numbers, um, Matthias is 62 and I'm 26, you know, because I'll be 62 and he's 26 now.
Yeah, I get the numbers of it. Yeah.
Yes. And but what I was going to bring out was that we it's in his ability to help me and me to help him has helped other people say, well, if Matthias can do it, so can I.
Oh, okay.
So I think that's a great bridge. So if that would be one thing that I would want to bring out is if you have a disability or ability, we're all the same.
Uh-huh.
We're God's children.
Absolutely. We're getting near the end of this episode, so I want to invite any of you to chime in if there's something that you would like to say that just there hasn't been the moment for it yet.
I was gonna say kind of on the previous thing is that um we all at some point have challenges in our lives. And I think we all need to be just understanding, compassionate that you may not see what the person next to you is dealing with, but um at least have the compassion to kind of reach out to them and talk to them if you're at mass. And it makes a difference in feeling welcomed. I think that's what we all want, is to feel welcomed. In whether it's the workplace, church, place of worship, or wherever. We want to be able to feel like we can come and feel welcome to bring all of the whole stuff of us, not just what some might view as just a disability,
Right.
because we're more than our disability. So I think that's just something that, the important for the viewers to think about is, the woman we were talking about, she was frustrated, but eventually she was able to come over that, and with her help with the physical therapist, and just be able to have that and keep being pushed. So I mean, just think about the whole self, and be able to be welcomed with that.
The way Cheryl Lynn ended up doing the first part of her afterlife was somersaults on the lawn, um, and moving just because I can move, and figuring it's eternity anyway. There's plenty of time to figure out something else to do, but for right now, all I want to do is move. Would any of you like to answer the question, is if after your passing, is there some afterlife thing that you would love to do?
Yes, Matthias already has a request, and he wants me to give him a piggyback ride.
All right. Well, if I've already passed, I'd like to be present to that if you'd invite me.
Sure, yes.
I'd love to see that one
You could
too.
have a
So
little bit of an audience.
yeah, you'll have an audience.
Okay.
I think about that question, and I'm going to add my little 2 cents. I would love to give someone a hug, and that would be a wonderful thing to do. I mean, I can do hugs, receive hugs, but I would love to give a very warm, embracing hug of security to someone.
All right. Well, I'm
Yeah,
sure that you do that without arms right now, but maybe you later you have afterlife arms that you can give all the.
Yeah.
All right. Sammy, you have anything like that?
uh I have to think, but I think one of the things is I'd like to do a lot more without having to worry about being with prosthetic legs and all of that, and just do whatever I want and not have to worry about that, and the pain with the legs and all that. So just be nice to, I mean, not doing cartwheels, but I mean, something that's a little bit more exciting than at times than what I deal with. So it would be nice to do that.
All right. Well, we're friends, and I hope that we will be in the afterlife, and maybe I get to be around when you figure out what it is you want to do that would have been more difficult to do while you're here. All right. Okay. Anything else? Otherwise, I'm going to wrap this show.
just thank you for having us.
All
Uh,
right, Louis. Well, you're a godsend everywhere you go.
Thank you. So are
Yes.
you.
All right. Okay, well, folks, this is the sign off for this episode of the Joyful Friar podcast. We've been talking about compassionate response to Cheryl Lynn, who is interested in the afterlife Olympics. That's one of the things that she told us, that she wanted to do something Olympic in her afterlife. Next time, we'll finish that trilogy by going into the idea of a spiritual practice that might grow in us, or that might somehow be applicable to the story of Cheryl Lynn and the things that we've talked about. And if any of you wanted to contribute to that show, you just need to let me know, and we could continue this great conversation. But for now, we'll make sure, Louis, that your book is in the show notes. And Jessica, I'm sure that you have a website or social media stuff that where people could interact with you if they like. Is that right?
Sure, just jessicacox.com.
Okay. And Sammy?
I don't have a website, but I follow along with Father Nathan, so someone will find me. So
All right.
wherever
Yeah.
Father
If you
Nathan
want
is,
to
I'm
talk to
there.
Sammy, you just let me know. I'll be his agent. I'll put you guys in touch. All right. So anyway, God bless you. Remember that I pray for you all the time. When I do pray for you, my prayer goes in the direction of healing of whatever it is that might be stealing any of your joy. Anywhere in your body, mind, or spirit, there's an event, a memory of an event, a limiting belief, some seed of sadness in you that maybe I could offer ask the Holy Spirit to offer you some joyful hope or some relief and ease from anything that might be causing you to be less joyful than you might be. So, anyway, that's it for this episode. Please join us next time on the Joyful Friar podcast. God bless you. Bye bye. I hope you enjoyed this episode of the Joyful Friar. Please like, follow, and subscribe. you can visit me at nathan-castle.com. Send me a message by clicking the contact button. God bless. Have you ever had to do something so difficult that you had to deal with it in stages? Imagine dying suddenly with no forewarning, being in a car crash, a shooting, a drowning. You leave your body, but then what? How do you transition into the afterlife? For some, it flows all at once, but not for everybody. For some, the process of transitioning into the afterlife is interrupted. Maybe there's a need for rest or for learning, or maybe just the chance to adjust to such an abrupt experience. I'm Father Nathan Castle. I'm a Catholic priest. About 23 years ago, the Holy Spirit began to send me people who had died traumatically. They entered my dreams during sleep, showing me what had happened to them and asking for help. They had died and moved on, sort of, but they'd come to a moment where it was time to complete the crossing. With the help of the angels and saints and earthly prayer partners, we've assisted more than 300 souls as they complete their crossing. You can read about it in my book series. Afterlife Interrupted books are available on Amazon. You can also learn more by visiting my website, nathan-castle.com. God bless you.